We'll start with the first halakha. I don't know how far we're going to get by the end of this class. Usually the first chapter takes me at least 2 or 3 classes to teach. All right, now we're going into the philosophy, Maimonidean philosophy. I don't like calling it Maimonidean philosophy as if Maimonides invented it, because really he represents a whole tradition. You have Sefer Kuzari, who's a generation and a half before him. You have Rav Saadia Gaon, who also wrote a book on Jewish thought, a really extensive book. And he incorporates, he doesn't really change any of those ideas. He's very, very loyal to tradition, even though many people, especially academics, like to think of Maimonides as some sort of revolutionary, either in halakha or in philosophy. The truth is, he's not a revolutionary in halakha for sure. He's very, very loyal to the Talmud and to the writings of the Geonim. And even if he contradicts the Gaon or makes a Pesach halakha that goes against a Pesach of the Gaon, is because his understanding of the Talmud is different than the Gaon, and he'll try to prove it in his answers, in his teshuvot. Okay? So we start with Yesod HaYesodot ve'amud HaChochmot lid'a sheyesh sham masui rishon. Says the most fundamental principle and the pillar of wisdom is, first of all, to know, lid'a, to acknowledge, sheyesh sham masui rishon, that there is a primary being. I don't even know, what does the translation say over there? Does it say primary being? We'll get to Mamtzi Kol HaNimsa. That's how I put them together. It's really 2 separate things. Yesham Masui Rishon. There is a primary being, right? Rishon, most people will probably want to translate as first. Really, in order to understand what Maimonides writes in these first chapters of the Mishneh Torah, you need to know everything he writes in the Guide for the Perplexed. And this is kind of like a summary of the Guide for the Perplexed. So I'm going to try to give you the guide's insight into the Hilchot Yesodei HaTorah. Rishon, Maimonides differentiates between a Rishon and a Reshit, right? It means primary. Primary being, or the primary cause, that isn't necessarily first in time. It means it's the cause of all of reality. For instance, I'll give you an example from this week's parasha, right? Or this past parasha, Noah. We have a beautiful natural phenomenon that takes place at the end of the parasha. This is a rainbow. Right? What is a rainbow? Or what's the cause of a rainbow? It says everything in the universe is part of a chain of causality. It's cause and effect. The rainbow is an effect of something. All right, what's the cause of the rainbow? It says, well, there's water particles in the sky. And when the sunlight hits the water particles, it disperses it. It's like a prism based on the different wavelengths of in that light. It says, okay, well, what's the cause of these different wavelengths of the light? We say, oh, well, that's the, how do you call it? That's the, because of the radiance of the sun. I'm going to be skipping a few levels in between. Okay, well, what's the cause of this radiance of the sun? He says, well, because the sun is this enormous mass, and it has the force of gravity that's pulling everything to its center. It gets really hot, and things start to fuse, and it radiates light. He says, okay, well, what's the cause of this force of gravity? He says, well, the cause of the force of gravity is the separation of the 4 fundamental forces of nature in the moment of creation, of the Big Bang. Well, what's the cause of the Big Bang? This is the cause of the Big Bang. So, okay, well, this is already getting into the primary cause, right? God caused the Big Bang. All right, I'm not gonna get into the whole. I have a video on how we get from the Big Bang to a primary being. I'm not gonna get into that right now.
And one of the 13 principles.
That is the primary being. The primary being, you need to understand, that doesn't just mean he's first in time. It means every single phenomenon that you see is the effect of some cause, which is the effect of some cause, which is the effect of eventually the primary cause, that primary being, right? So it's not once upon a time there was a God and he created a universe. All right, God is the being that enables the universe to exist. He is the primary cause, right? Lida, to acknowledge sheyesh sham masui rishon, that there is a primary being, vehu mamtzi kol hanimtza. How does the translation say? Vehu mamtzi kol hanimtza. That he brought, right? He didn't say vehu himtzi. Doesn't say that he created everything in existence. It's vehu mamtzi in the now, in the present. What's the difference? God didn't. Sorry,
It was already created. He's just bringing it.
it says God didn't create the universe once upon a time. He's holding the creation, right, in existence all the time. And that's what we say, right? Every day he renews creation. It's not that every day he's renewing creation. This is he holds creation in existence. And this is a fundamental difference between our perception of creation, and I'll call it the classical philosophical understanding of creation, where there is a God and God created a universe, like a carpenter designed a table, right? And there is no longer any connection between the carpenter and the table. What happens to the table doesn't affect the carpenter. What happens to the carpenter doesn't affect the table. There's complete disconnect between the two. It says our perception of creation could be more likened to a thought in your mind. As long as you're thinking of that object in your mind, it exists. If you're not thinking of it, it'll cease to exist in your mind. Vehum mamtzi kol hanimsa means God, everything that exists, God is actively breathing, so to speak, breathing life into it, breathing existence into it. Otherwise, it couldn't exist.
Is it similar to the idea of our tshuva, like we are us trying to return to Hashem, and He's consistently trying to keep us, separated or on earth?
Okay, you're touching a nice point, and that's similar to something that I wanted to say next. This is also maybe one of the fundamental differences between us and the philosophical perception of God, where they say God has no knowledge of what goes on in this low world, and definitely there is no divine providence. Vehum mamtzi kol hanimtza means there is no creation without God's providence. God is always aware of you, otherwise you couldn't exist.
Yeah.
Is that
exactly? Because if He didn't want us to exist, we would make tshuva and cease to exist. So we must be like life is a consistent energy that He's focused on keeping.
It is
existing.
It is. I'm not sure exactly how that ties into teshuvah.
Like our tshuva, like the next world, like we.
Oh, you mean in the Olam Haba?
Yeah, Olam Haba, like tshuva.
We'll have an entire class on Olam Haba. But yeah. והוא ממציא כל הנמצא. וכל הנמצאים מן שמיים וארץ, all the beings in the heavens, ובארץ, and the earth, ומה שביניהם, and in between the heavens and the earth, לא נמצאו אלא מאמיתת הימצאו. They could only exist because of the truth of his existence. What does anything in this phrase mean? What's the Shamayim? What's the Aretz? What's Benehem? What's in between the Shamayim and the Aretz? Right? So Shamayim, we learn from Bereshit. This is Bereshit, right? In the beginning. By the way, now you understand Bereshit doesn't mean in the beginning, but primarily, right? Bereshit, bara Elohim, God created Shamayim v'ta'aretz, right? He created the heavens and the earth. What is the heavens and the earth? There's the heavens, all the stars and the planets and everything. So it can't be, because those were only created on the fourth day, right? So what is the Shamayim? So here the Shamayim and the Aretz, as in Bereshit, refers to the physical universe, and we'll call it the metaphysical, the non-material universe. That's the Shamayim and the Aretz. Umash benehen, and what's in between the Shamayim and the Aretz? Any ideas? What's in between? That would be the Aretz, that's the physical universe. Sorry? The sea? What's the sea? The Maim. That's part of the Aretz.
Shemaim sky, Aretz land. What's in between?
Shamayim metaphysical, Aretz physical.
Oh, but maybe the like 10 layers of separation, maybe? Between the
Okay, okay. I like that.
Heavens.
Huh?
The heavens.
The heavens is the Shamayim.
Mm-hmm. So what's between the heavens?
What's in between the Shamayim and the Aretz?
Letters.
So God created the physical universe, and he created a metaphysical universe. And he also created a bridge in between the two.
The human.
So I would say the human is half Shamayim, half Aretz.
Angels.
Huh?
Living.
The angels is Shamayim.
Living being.
Beit HaMikdash. It's like it's the portal from our world to
And so,
but not in Bereshit, yeah.
so going a little bit further, the same place of the Beit HaMikdash, yes, you're right. The first vision that we have is it says Yaakov, Sulam Yaakov, right? He says, right? V'hine sulam musav arsa. I see this ladder, right, in his vision, and it is established in the Aretz. V'rosho magia shamayma, right? And the head of the ladder reaches the heavens, right? This is the bridge between the heavens and the earth. It says v'rosho magia shamayma v'hine malache Elohim olim v'yoredim bo, the angels, or another term for that the word malach is used is the prophets. They go up and down the ladder. They go up, they receive a message from God, they come down and deliver it to us earthly beings. All right? And I like to bring a little remez to it, which is Bereshit bara Elohim, right? In the beginning, God created et hashamayim, the heavens, ve'et haaretz, right? And the earth, right? Ve'et is letters ot, aleph, vav, taf. What is an ot? What connects between us and God? Anything that God designated as an ot, such as
Word.
Shabbat, ot hi beni ubenechem. It's a sign, a symbol between me and you, right? The tefillin, what is a tefillin? It's a tefillah, it's the prayer, right, of us. It connects us to God. It says God created these bridges between the metaphysical world, between the angelic world and our physical world, right? And when we keep Shabbat, when we put on tefillin, we are wearing and living according to this ot, this bridge between the Shamayim and the Aretz. והוא ממציא, וכל הנמצאים מן שמיים וארץ ומה שביניהן and everything in between, right? All these otot that he created for us. By the way, the first ot that we see is Noah. It is ot haberit, right? This is the sign of the berit between me and you, and he brings the keshet, which actually is like a physical connection between the skies and the land, right? Ever try to chase a rainbow to its end? Yeah, you've tried?
On the left.
No, I did in Florida,
Huh?
and I thought I was gonna get there, and then it was like out in the water a little bit.
Yeah.
So
You'll never get to it.
I was so depressed.
Never say that.
I've seen it from the sky once when I was on a plane. It's just a circle, just goes repeated. Oh, there you go, mother. You can't find the end of it. לא נמצאו, it all exists, אלא but for אמיתת הימצאו, the truth of his existence. What does that mean? What is אמיתת הימצאו? So here, the Rambam, he is like defining his own, I'll call it, his own theory of relativity, different relativity, okay? There is truth and there's relative truth, all right? Not everything exists on the same level of truthness. For instance, you're thinking of a story. I don't know, maybe you just read Harry Potter, all right? And you have these characters in your mind, right? You have Harry Potter and his friend Ron and Hermione, right? Are they real? Are they true? So what the Rambam is saying is it depends from what perspective. There's a frame of reference, right? If Ron slaps Harry across the face, to Harry, it's real. He's gonna feel it. To you, is it real? You said before there's 10 levels of reality in between us and God, right? I would assume that in that ladder, right, maybe there were 10 steps. In the second chapter of the Mishneh Torah, of Chain Yesodei HaTorah, the Rambam defines 10 levels of reality separating our world from the primary being's world. All right? We're on the bottom one. Are we real?
No.
We are, think of it as a thought of Harry Potter. Okay, are we real? Our interactions are real. We're real in reference to each other, to ourselves, right? But in relation to the plane of existence above us, it's as if we're just like a thought, a fiction. So amitat himatzeo means there is this one level, this ultimate level of reality, this ultimate truth, which its only residence is God, is this primary being. Everything else is a relative truth, a relative reality.
Was this true even in the time of Moshe?
Explain your question.
The level of steps.
Um,
Would you say? Or were there less steps?
Meaning more were added with time? I don't think so, because all these higher realities aren't limited by time, so they just exist. There's no beginning to it. There's no end to it. It just exists. All right. וכל הנמצאים מן שמיים וארץ ומה שביניהם לא נמצאו. They only exist thanks to or because of אמיתת הימצאו, the absolute reality of his existence is what enables anything else to exist. ואם יעלה על הדעת, and if one should think שהוא אינו מסוי, that he doesn't exist, אין דבר אחר יכול להימסות. Nothing else can possibly exist without that primary level of existence breathing life into all the rest of existence. ואם יעלה על הדעת, and if one should say שאין כל הנמצאים מלבדו מצויים, that not everything that exists, right, it comes from him, from that primary level of existence, says, הוא לבדו יהיה מסוי. Says, really, ultimately, he is the only thing that actually exists. One of says in the More, in the guide, this is based on also on the philosophers. There's three categories of existence. There is mechuyav hametziut, something that has to exist. There is efshari hametziut, any possible existence, and there is nimna hametziut, which is impossible, can't possibly exist. Mechuyav hametziut, there is only one. There's only one thing that our existence requires to exist in order for it to exist. That is the primary being, the primary level of existence. Everything else, our entire reality, is efshari hametziut. It's possible. And we'll get a lot more into this when we deal with divine providence some point in the future.
Like through this sentence is also explained that
Sorry?
through this sentence also explains like that so without us Hashem easily exists, like doesn't need us, and we will continue to exist.
Right? We'll see that here. And nothing that we do, right, can annul his existence. He's not dependent on us. We are dependent on him. He is not dependent on us. Shekol hanimtzain tzrikin lo. Any being, all beings, everything in creation needs him. Vehu baruch hu eno tzarich lahen velo le'echad mehen. And his existence isn't dependent on them or any one of them. Not any specific being, and not even all of creation itself, right? His existence isn't dependent on anything else's existence. Lefichach, therefore, en amitato ka'amitat ahad mehen. Therefore, his level of existence is the ultimate level of existence that isn't dependent on anything, and is the ultimate true level of existence, right? I think it's in the second chapter where he uses the term Hakol nismach b'havayato lo. Everything's existence is dependent on him sort of breathing existence into it. All right? I see it's already 8 o'clock. It's really 7 o'clock? To fix that clock.
I think you're 15 minutes. Rambam is coming 15 minutes.
So I'll continue a bit. I'll just finish this paragraph here. Hu shanavi omer. This is what the prophet says. First of all, so everything that I'm explaining to you philosophically, don't think I invented any of this. All right? And as the academics like to say, Maimonides learned all this from the Greeks. He says, no, Hu shanavi omer. The prophet already says, right? Yirmiyah says, Vadonai Elohim emet. And God, our Lord, is emet, is truth. What does that mean? Hu levado ha'emet. He is the only truth, the only ultimate truth. Ven le'acher emet ka'amito. Right? And nothing else has that same level of truthness. V'hu sha'torah omer. This is what it says in the Torah. Ein od milevado. It says there is nothing other than him. What does that mean? There's nothing other than him. How about all of us? כלומר, אין שום מצוי אמת מלבדו kimoto. There is no other being that is true like he is, except for him. All right. Getting into the next will probably take us like at least 15 minutes, half an hour. So I'll let you.
Shema Israel. Shema
Well,
Israel.
yeah, we're gonna get into the Shema Yisrael next week, maybe if not the week after that. All right.
Really doesn't have a lot to do with simulation, because in truth, in building one, right? Hashem is one,
Yeah.
false is zero. And we could be a simulation of Hashem's like feeling or whatever, and each level is a higher simulation or something.
I think simulation theory is a good description or a good analogy of.
But it doesn't mean that it's not, doesn't mean we're not real, but it's a simulation in.
Well, now you're getting to the question: what is real?
Yeah.
Yes, AI.
We don't like
I
that.
said there's different. It says real itself is depends on your frame of reference.
Right.
It's a relative
Real to
term.
us.
And we're gonna see soon. One is also a relative term.
I was fine.
This topic is divine providence? Or
Now,
what is the
no,
next topic?
I would call the title I would give would be the primary being.
Primary. And what Rob's like specialized in this? Maimonides?
My mom, yeah,
Nachman?
probably less.
Is this technically like, does this also feed into Kabbalistic ideas? or-
There are Kabbalistic ideas that do match up with some of these ideas. This is the Andalusi tradition.
But he went to the spot, no?
Who? Maimonides?
Yeah.
I don't think so. But even if he did, there was.
I thought he went to Israel.
Yeah, he came. He went to Yaffo. He
Yeah.
went down to Jerusalem. He went up to the Temple Mount, and then he went down to Hebron, and he made his way down to Egypt. But even if he would have gone to Tzfat, we're talking about like
Maybe there
300 years before the Mekubalim of Tzfat. We're talking about maybe 50 to 100 years even before the publication of the Zohar.
This is the topic that we're gonna be learning for the next.
Yes,
How long?
probably next 6 months.
Well, look at the book.
It's like my favorite.
I've been studying with a friend.
So it just, it deals with like the world and Hashem.
Okay, so what's
Reality.
course gonna cover? I'm hoping to cover knowledge of God, free will, divine providence, Sachar ve'onesh, no, we will maybe, yeah, punishment and reward and punishment, Olam Haba. I didn't write in the message prophecy, the image of God, the uniqueness of Israel. We'll probably cover most major issues.
It's interesting because this.
We will also be using some theory of relativity, some quantum mechanics, some simulation theory, holographic universe.
What we learned before is very grounded in this world and study of like laws, and this is very like
Yeah.
conceptual, big ideas. This is the stuff that like,
Okay.
it's the wild.
You seem to be very involved in that course too.
Just very involved in Judaism. Oh,
That's the beauty of Maimonides. He synthesizes everything.
So who specializes in like this stuff that we're talking? It's like the top dog. It's my Maimonides.
In philosophy.
Jewish
Yeah,
philosophy.
I'd say yeah. So I was reading a book of Dr. Micha Goodman. He wrote a book on the guy for the Perplexed. He wrote a book on the Kuzari. He wrote another book. I don't agree with a lot of the things he says, but he did say something interesting that all of modern philosophy, Western philosophy, can be put somewhere on the scale between two major philosophers, Aristotle and Plato. And he says you could say the same thing about Jewish philosophy, of Jewish thought, where all of Jewish thought today, modern Jewish thought, can be put somewhere on the scale between two giants of Jewish thought. One is Maimonides, and one is Rabbi Yehuda HaLevi, right? Same tradition as Maimonides. My disagreement with Michael Goodman is that where he puts Maimonides and Mihal over here, I think they're like more over here.
And wait, you put up Maimonides as your family?
You think.
Oh, right, I mean, that's another thing.
850 years.
Are Maimonides and Rashi kind of in a league by themselves?
Rashi is like a little bit older than Maimonides.
Could go give them the same level if you give a number to them.
I can't grade the Chachamim.
That's not.
I need to talk to you guys.